Okay. We will be getting started in just a few minutes. Okay, let's see. So, we're going to go ahead and start now. This is going to be basically just if you guys are new to creating like a whole full stack app, this will definitely be for you. I'm pretty new to creating full stack apps myself, but with practice, I think we can take a lot from this and get better in our craft. So the first thing that I will do is change directories into my desktop. I have a bunch of random stuff. I'm going to go ahead and make a folder first of all and just call it simple weather app. I'm going to change directories into there. So I'm going to change into that folder I just created. Once I am in here, the next thing that I want to do would be maybe npm init. So here, this is going to create a package JSON. We could go ahead and just enter all this stuff. We could put a description, simple, express, app, entry point. I like server.js. Test command, okay. Go ahead and put your name, license. It's good. So now if I actually open our folders, we can see that that package JSON was created. Okay, now that we have a package JSON created, we could install our dependencies that will allow us to create our server. In this instance, I will do npm install express -- save. You guys are going to see that this is actually going to save into our dependencies here, into our package JSON, this express. So we go ahead and save that. Give this a second. So now that we have Express installed, we could begin working on creating a server. Actually, I'm going to put everything inside a source folder. So first, I'm going to make directory, call it source. And then we could change into source. Now that we're inside of source, we can see that it's an empty directory. We can go ahead and clear that again. And what I would say, now that we're in here, is we can touch our server.js. And as you guys can see, if we go into our server, into our source folder, we now have a server.js file. So if we go into our server.js, we can start creating stuff here. Actually, let's set up our server. So first we want to require express, and we do this by const express equals require express. Okay, and then we want to invoke that by doing const app equals express. So now that we have access to our server through app, we can do a, let's see if I remember this. I know there's an app listen, which tells our server to listen on port 3000. Then we give it a callback. And we could put a message here saying like listening on port 3000. Okay, so right now, okay, inside our package JSON, we can actually create a start script that will start our server. So here in this scripts area, we can go ahead and write start and say something like nodemon. Yeah, nodemon. We'll go ahead and install nodemon after this, but nodemon, and then we want to go into source server.js. Okay, and now when we do an npm start, let's save this. If we do an npm start, it should do our start script. And nodemon did work for me. For you guys actually want to, if you guys don't have nodemon installed globally, which is actually something I want to take off because I don't want to have it on globally, but if you guys don't have nodemon, you just do an npm install nodemon -- save, and it will save it into your dependencies. I think this is a dev dependency, so you probably want to do dev dependency. And once this installs, you guys should see here in my package JSON, it should have it updated with that dev dependency. Let's go ahead and wait for this. Should be done any second. Okay, what else? So right now, man, there's no need for me to install that, but just so you guys can see, we now have this dev dependency of nodemon that allows us to not have to keep restarting our server. So it's just kind of like it takes away a frustration layer. So next, now if we do a npm start, it will run this start script, which will run this command nodemon source server, which will start our server. Let me see, if I try to go to, what would happen if I try to go to our localhost 3000. This is where we're telling our app to listen, and as you guys can see, nothing is happening. And it's telling us it's listening on port 3000, which means it's running this here, app.listen, but we're not specifying the home route at all. So it's telling us it cannot get the home route, which we're trying to go to that home route. You can't see it, but there's a / here, which indicates the home route. So in order for it to hear, we have to specify it here as an app.get. Here we specify we want to go to the home route, and here we can again give it a callback, and it will specify what we want to do once we're at the home route. I forgot, this will take 2 parameters, request and response. I just do rec and res. It's I think what Express uses in their documentations, but you can pretty much make it whatever you want. So here I could respond with res.send. We can later on change this for a file that has HTML, but for now let's just say hello from the home page. Okay, so now that we are telling it what to do at the home page, we should be able now to go to this route and get our hello message. And as you guys can see, we're getting hello from the home page. Okay, so now that we have this one route set up, we got our server JS. What would be next? Trying to see. Okay, we're doing the weather API. So the next thing I would want to do is I'm going to use EJS as my rendering engine, which will allow us to embed JavaScript into HTML. So I'm going to turn off the server real quick. I'm going to do a npm install --save EJS. EJS again is a templating language that will allow us to use JavaScript in our HTML. So let's just wait for this 1 second. So if I was to create a new file, what could I call it? I will go ahead, since it is kind of a small app, I'm gonna go ahead and just put everything inside my source folder. Usually you want to like separate concerns. Server would be in its own folder, your database in a separate folder, controllers in a different folder. But we're just building this out, and you could focus on folder structuring on your own. Since it is pretty subjective, but you don't just want everything inside one folder. That, especially when you start getting into a bigger website or app, it just is implausible. So right now I'm gonna go ahead and just create a new file inside my source. I'm gonna go ahead and call, you know what, I don't like that. I'm gonna go ahead and create a public folder in here, and you guys see me like switching around, creating folders either over here or over here. Command line, just like another way of doing it. And I could just make a directory inside my source and call it, there's usually public, which will serve our styles and JavaScript code. So we can go ahead and make this public. Okay, so if we want to, I'm trying to remember, if we want to read from that public folder, I need to tell Express that, or I need to tell my app that, and I can do that by doing an app.use express.static, and that is source / public. Okay, so this will allow us to read in from whatever's inside of public. And so we also want, what else? Let me see, let me try to remember. What did I do next? Okay, so we need to, since we installed EJS already, now we should be able to, if we create a views, which is where we're going to have all our EJS stuff, we'll create a folder and we'll call this folder. So we have a public folder and we're going to need a views folder. And views is usually where we keep the stuff that will be viewed, which makes sense, right? So in here we can create, well, first, instead of sending this message, we want to be able to render a file that is inside of views, and that file will contain all our front-end EJS stuff, HTML and JavaScript. So I want to go ahead and render, what is it? Here we're just going to want to render, we'll call it index. and that'll be the home page, and it's not. Okay, so that's the other thing we want to do is we want to tell our app to know, where is it? We want it to know to check our views. So we want to set our view engine. The other thing I kind of forgot, it's app.set view engine, and we want to set that to EJS, or else it will not know that we want to use EJS. So now that we have our engine set up to EJS, and we're telling it to render our index page, which if we go into views right now, there's nothing there, so it's not going to be able to find anything. We want to create that file called index.ejs and have it inside of views. So now we have, now that we have index.ejs, we can write, some HTML in there. Hello again. Sorry guys, you guys are gonna hear my dog for a second. But if we go ahead and start this again, npm start, we're gonna get our server started again. And now with the server started again, we're gonna be able to, if we go back over here and we go to localhost, we'll be able to, so right now it's telling us that it failed to look at view index in view. So let's see why this isn't working. So right now it's failed to look up index. So if I go back to views, if I look at server, I'm telling it to look in source, app use, public, but I want it to view engine. So I would think it's because I'm still not telling it to look in views folder. And in order to see that, we want to, let me see. Is it yelling at me because of this source thing? I don't think so. Well, usually, so that should be right there. Okay. If we look, so this is where, let me just try and see if it's yelling at me because of public. Okay, so now it's listening on port 3000. Let's try to go here again. So we're still getting an error. Console's throwing errors. Can any of you guys see what I might be doing wrong? If not, let me just continue here. We have const app express. We have our view engine set to EJS. This might have to come first, even though it doesn't matter. So we're telling it to use public. Well, first, I think this has to be source public. But I'm not telling it view engine is EJS. It's telling me to try again. Okay, I tried again. Failed to look up view index. So it tried to look for index inside of views. Index.ejs is there. It says that. Let's see. Okay, I'm getting stuck here. So public is here. Views is there, has index. We're telling it to set our view engine to EJS, but let me see. Let me turn off an app that's killing. Okay, turn that off. Now let me see. Okay, now I remember. I still gotta set views. Because I set the view engine, but I never set views. And we want to set views here. Just like we set the view engine, we want to set views. And this will take the directory we're in right now. And we also want to add views to the end of it. Let's see if this fixes it. So now we're getting our hello again. Whew. Okay. So let's just go over what had happened. We're trying to read, when it went to the home route, we're trying to read index. It was looking for index, but it wasn't looking in the correct place for it. Once we set this here, it tells to look inside of the views folder. So when we render index, it's looking in the correct place now. So now, what next? So now we're trying to use our weather API. So inside of index, we can start, where is it at? We can start actually using, like HTML, we could do a body, and that will go down here to the body. We can have an H1 for weather. Okay, we can save this. We can come back here, refresh this, make sure it's working. We get weather. Okay, let's say we want to add a quick style here. Style equals text align center. Let's see. We get weather in the center. Okay, so let's just see. Well, let's look at some APIs online, which I already had opened here. Let's see weather APIs. So I'm not sure how much knowledge you guys have concerning APIs, but really we use these APIs that belong to other websites, and we basically use their organized data in our own applications. So know your location, sure. So, like here, we can go to the API section, current weather data, which is probably what we want. We can look at their documentation. So me personally, I had to get an API key for this to work. So if it is your first time, you want to go ahead and sign up. I'll go to sign in because, okay, I'm already signed in. So once you guys sign up, you guys get an API key, which you guys can get from right here. Once you have this API key, you'll be allowed to make API calls to this website, which will allow you to utilize this here, their API docs. So by city name, by city ID, by geographic coordinates, by zip code. So this seems like probably the easiest to do real quick. But you guys can pretty much grab this lesson and like piece it apart and figure out what to do to get, to throw in your geographical coordinates if you want that, or if you want to throw in your city name, city ID, whatever you want to do. But I'm gonna just try zip code because I don't know, sounds easy. Okay, so now that we have this idea, let's look description. The API call is here. So we want to make an API call, a GET request to this URL, api.openweathermap.org/data 2.5 weather. And then we're going to want to pass in our own zip code. So this is where we're going to allow input and then pass it in to this API call and then get a response back. And it should respond with something similar to this. And then we can just, grab the information we need and make it show up on our app. But back here, so right now we just have that weather at the top. Next thing I could do like a form. This is gonna have a simple, just an input. We want this input to be type text, an ID, so later on we could select it in our JavaScript of, zip input. No, wait, yeah, zip input, even though I'm not sure if I'll ever need that. I don't know, I'll just give everything IDs, submit button, I'm gonna say submit form, okay, we'll have a placeholder that is, enter zip code. And then next we want an input type equals submit. Okay. Let's see. We could save this. Come back over her. Refresh. So now we have that enter zip code and submit. But now that centering isn't looking too good. Screw this thing for now. Later on we can improve on this. So right now, there we go. Weather, enter zip code, submit. We want our weather to show up right under. Alright. So we can create inside our HTML under our form. Okay, I'm just kind of getting bugged here. So I'm going to just put a paragraph that says zip code. Okay. I will do, so we got zip code, form, what else do I need? 1 second, make sure no one's leaving no chats, cool. Okay, so after I have my form, I can throw something where I'll do like an H2 that says city name, H2, and then we could put another paragraph, and this is where we're gonna add the name of the city, and then under we'll do like a temperature. So first I could do a P with an ID equals, city name. So we have this empty paragraph element with nothing in it. So now that we have that done, so what would be next? I would say inside of public, we're going to have to start with, what should I call this? I don't know, like API calls, .js. I've never separated it like this, so let's see. You know what? We're going to use jQuery. So let's look online. jQuery. It just helps do this a lot easier, so I don't have to write HTML requests. I could just use their .get method. So jQuery, I could do jQuery CDN. So once we have access to this CDN, we can get there. It doesn't really matter. I'll go with uncompress, get this script tag here. Once we have their script, we can come back to our index, put it before the body ends. This will give us access to jQuery. We also want our file that we haven't created yet, but we can do script equals what is it? I already forgot how to link to an external file. Where would I? Let me see. I know I got documentations in here. It's a source. Darn it. So we want to do our source of our file, which, I think in this instance it would just be the name, because we already specified it should be called API calls. You know what? I have no idea if this is gonna work. So let's just try. I don't know if it needs an ending, but let's end it. Yeah, let's just go into here, write a console log. I hear you. Just make sure that we're connecting it right. So when I go back to this error, let's give it a title too. It's kind of annoying me to see that it says error. So what is it, like a head? And then we want to, in our head, give this a title. Weather app. So let's save that. See if that worked. Weather app, zip code, city name. So let's do I'm gonna change this weather thing to H2, and then do H3 like such. Okay, let's see again, refresh. So we're getting weather. Why is weather? And that one we want H1. Oh yeah, we just wanted to see if it was, so localhost API calls not found. Is it because I need to, I think it's because it's actually looking where is its source. Maybe I want to do this. Okay, so we're still getting some sort of error here, and that just means I'm linking to this wrong. API calls. Do I want to do, let me just try to do it from source. So right now this script is not, maybe like that. So cannot get API calls, and that's because it's really like going to API calls when all I want it to do is not go to API calls. More troubleshooting. Let us see. Okay, so right now we're just trying to link to our API calls, which right now we're inside of what, views? So maybe it's because we want to go outside of views. Once we're inside of views, go into public, and then once we're in public, do API calls. So we're still getting localhost public API calls. So let me look at maybe other projects that I've done to see how I've done it before. So here, let me go to the footer. So in this project I didn't even use. Okay, so let me see footer. All right, let's link to external JavaScript source myscript.js. Okay. API calls.js. I hear you. Oh my gosh. Okay, so now we link to our API calls. We can erase this. So here, let's see if our jQuery is working. So we'll do a document, and then we'll do a dot ready, which takes a function, and this function will I don't know what I can do. Const. First, we just want something that's going to get that div that we created, which we called. Let me separate screens here. What did we call? We called it city name. So we can do. Oh, do we want it to be called city name? Because this is gonna get a bunch of information. Sure. For now, let's just call it city name, even though I don't think it's going to be our city name. I'm gonna just, whatever. I'm gonna just call it X for now, and then once we figure that out, we can change the name. Document.getElement. What did it tell me something? Get element by ID. And we want to get the one with the ID. I forgot what we called it. Oh yeah, city name. So now by console.log x, let's see what we get. Come over here. We get this element, this p element with a city name. Okay. So we're able to now access our empty element. So we can make our API call. We didn't get an error also for using the $, so we know jQuery should be working since we've never defined a question mark. So the next thing, what do I want to get? I want to get the input. Okay, so whatever the input is, which is here that we called zip input, we want to also create an instant of that. So we'll call that zip input. And we'll make it equal document.getElement by ID. And we'll do, what was it? Oh yeah, zip input. Okay. What else would we need to get? I would like the button. Sure, let's see if we need that submit. No, not the submit button, the form. What do we call that form? Oh, submit form. So we could do a submit form equals document dot get, not element by class name, but element by ID, and we'll put in there submit form. So whatever that submit form holds, we should get access to. So now that we've selected some stuff, we can go ahead and start writing this submit form, and we want to add an event listener, which will listen to that submit button being clicked. So here we would say submit because that's what we're listening for. And then there's a callback function. This callback function will give it an EVT, which we'll use to prevent it from refreshing, because we don't want it to refresh on its own, and we do that by using the prevent default, or else every time we hit submit, it's going to refresh the page, and that's something you don't want to happen, so we added that there. Next, we do our get request. This get request will take in that the URL we've seen, which is this weather thingy. So if we do, where is it? Here, we can add that there. It's getting us an error because of that. Okay. So we want to go ahead and erase all this up until zip. Okay, so up until zip, it's good. After that, we want to take in what was inputted, which we have access to through zip input. We also might have access to it through the submit form, but I already did this much, so it's okay. Here we're going to add or concatenate zip input dot value, which will contain that zip input, the value of it, whichever was typed in once it was submitted. So we want that, and then after that we continue the rest, which I think it said it took in. For right now, we'll just leave it like US because I'm from the US. I didn't even think, what if you guys aren't from the US? But yeah, so we'll just continue it off the way it should be, US, and then units, because here, where is it, temp? It looks like it returns some weird temp. So if we want to specify units, let's see, open weather Fahrenheit unit. Didn't even spell it right, but here it is. Switching between units. What is it? So we just add this query string of units equals metric. If we want Fahrenheit, oh no, imperial if we want Fahrenheit. So where am I? Okay. So here it'll be US and units equal imperial. And then we want that API key which we got, or else this will not work for you. So here I'll do an and I need my API key, which I can get if I go back here, oh, wrong place, sign in. I'm already signed in, API key, get this, copy it, we add that there. Okay, so then after this, we want function. or I've been using arrow function, so let's do it that way. This will come down here. So now we got this super long thingy. So in here, once we send this GET request to this, well, let's do an HTTPS. I don't think it matters, but so once we make our GET request to this URL, it will return a response, which will be inside of data. So with that response, we want to, first let's just console log it. Console log data and see what we get here. Let's come back over here, go up to our weather API. So right now I'm missing after argument list, API calls JS6. Let me see. Line 6, I'm missing some sort of what am I missing here? What am I missing? Trying to see. Let's see. So we have our submit, we have our event that happens, we do our event prevent default, we do our get, this takes in that API call, and we just console log data. So I'm not sure what the error is here, but let's syntax error uncut. Oh, I'm missing my arrow. Doi. Wait. Event. Where is that event? Oh, here. Okay. Now it understands. So let's console. So once I add this, submit it, I'm getting an unauthorized. So what could be happening? Weather zip. Oh, and I think it's supposed to be APPID equals, if I remember correctly. Save this, refresh that. Let's try 9.5, submit. Okay, so now we're getting this object back. So now we get this super big object back. We can do stuff with it. And as you can see, the temperature is showing correctly. I am entering my hometown of Newman, California zip code. So we can start adding stuff into our index.ejs. Right now we're getting this paragraph tag, and I think for now, instead of console logging, what we can do is we can target that city name, do a .html, which will allow us to add HTML to city name, and we're going to give it data, but what is it? Because we got back that object, and we want to get first the name, which is in, it's not inside of anything, so we can access name, the name property by just doing .name. So now, if I do this and submit, well, I need to refresh. So now, if I do that and submit, I'm still not getting name. Let's see why that is. So right now, we're not getting name. City name, we're selecting it. .html, data.name. So, wait 1 second, I'll be right back. Okay. Sorry, had to take my dogs out. So let me see. Let me see where we're at the moment. Okay, so we're trying to figure out why this is not getting us what we want. So right now, we got data, and we're trying to do something with it. First, let's see if we're even, I think we already checked this, but let me try again. Data is always a good way of troubleshooting, console logging everything. So we are getting it. Let me make sure there's a base, cloud, all this stuff, name. Yeah, so it should be in name, .name. So did I get, so I'm trying to select here. Oh, because city name needs a hash. It's an ID we're targeting. Whew, man. So now we refresh this. We should be able to add this in. Oops. Like that. Submit. And we get Newman to show up now. Okay, so that's the first part, which is city name. We can do copy these. We don't even need this to show, but under city name, we can do temperature, and then here, temperature dot HTML data dot, let's see what it was. So in order to get the temperature, we need to go main. So dot main dot temp. Dot main dot temp. Let's see. Let's refresh. So now we get zip code and city name. So we're missing, forgot to save here. So now we have a temperature. We could add an if condition to only show this once they submit it. But for now it's cool. Yeah. But now I'm not liking this P up here. I want to make it an H3. Okay. We could do, what's it gonna do? City name and temperature. I'll do colons. So if I do 95360, submit, and now we're getting city name Newman, temperature 58.44. Whew. So that's I forgot what I named this video. I know it had weather API. Code a basic Express app live with weather API and SQL database. So the database part, I have no idea how it would benefit this app, but we can go ahead and dive into creating the database just for anybody who's wondering how to do such things. In source, I would create another folder called models. Inside of models, I would create a folder called DB. Okay, so now that we have DB, inside of DB, I'm going to create a file called schema.sql. I will create a file called connection. And again, I'm just abstracting things. I like to separate everything, but you could pretty much do your connection any way you want. But let's just do connection the way that I remember how to do it. Okay, so let me make sure I got where is it? So I'll be using PG Promise, and it's just like it allows me to, PG Promise will allow me to interact with my Postgres database. If you guys don't have Postgres, install Postgres. I can show you guys what my database looks like. I got this thing called Postico. It allows me to see it through a GUI, graphical user interface. Just makes it a lot easier to visualize. Command line's cool too, but let's connect here to my database. I got a bunch of random crap. Okay, so we want to create a new database in here from our app whenever our app is run. Close that, close that. So right now I'm gonna go ahead and just, okay, in my connections, well, first we need to install PG Promise. So npm install -- save PG Promise. Once we have PG Promise installed, we'll be able to set up our connection string and database. So now that that's up, inside of connections, we can now do const pgp. I called it that just because that's what I felt like calling it. Require pg promise. And then next we want a connection string. This is all in the documentation, by the way, if you guys want to check it out. We'll just do it real quick. I just kind of remember that just because I've done it a few times already. PG promise, which actually does not have the best of documentation, but what can we do? Usage, once you've created a database object, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. This took me forever to figure out. Official documentation, maybe? Oh, here we go. So install PG promise. You want init options. That's if you want to like any options in there, which I don't. You just do your const pgp require pg promise, and then those options if you had any, or without initialization options, which is how we did it here. Oops, I almost forgot to actually do that, which I do that a lot. So don't forget, when you require it, you need to invoke, I guess, or whatever that is. You need to do that. Okay, so then after you require it, then you just do this here. And we want to, well, we forgot to connection string. I usually do, how do they do it here? That's weird. Okay, well, it doesn't actually say it on that documentation, but this is how I've always done it. Postgres localhost 5432 / and then the name of the database. So we'll call this simple weather app. The database doesn't exist yet, but it's okay. We'll make it exist. Next, const db equals pgp connection string. Boom. So now we have this that we can access and do stuff with. We want to export it so that we can use it outside of this folder. And we'll just call it db. So now inside of other folders, when we write functions that we need to use our database for, like to create something in the database, we'll be able to use this connection with that file. But for now, it's not too important. So what are we going to make inside of our database that would even have anything to do with weather? See, I should have thought this through more. What can we save in the database? I guess, let me think. What if I want to add maybe like a member, a login or something? Let's just do like a member. So first I'm going to drop table if exists, and I'll call it, I don't know, members. And then we're going to create table members. No. How about Yeah, I wasn't expecting to do a members, just because that's more like a user login and stuff. But whatever, let's just do that. We'll create a table, and we're going to do an ID serial, do a username, make it a varchar, so 255 characters, not null, we want it to be unique, we want a password, varchar 255, not null. We can just do that for now. Okay, so we created this file that will create a table once run. We need that to run so that this exists. So we do all this stuff in our package JSON. We create scripts, right? So we could create another script that says, I don't know, load. You can call this whatever. I'm gonna just load DB, and it's going to basically run a script that I tell it to run, which I'm trying to think of what I want it to be. I guess we could call this load schema, and this will load our schema. And what we want this command to do is do PSQL into our database, which is called, I forgot what we called our database. I think it was just simple weather app. So that will switch into there. Once we switch into there, we want to pass source models db schema.sql. Okay. So let's try to run this real quick. npm run load schema. Got an error. So we need to create db. So I'll do like a let's do a create, or let's do a, yeah, I'm gonna do a create db. This will be a create db, and I'll do, what did I call it? Simple weather app. Just like that. I'll do also another script that's db reset, and this one will be drop db simple weather app, and create db simple weather app, and npm run load schema. Alright, so right now, let's not forget the commas. Okay, so right now I could do an npm run create db. So this created simple weather app. If I go back into Postigo where I was earlier, you guys will see that it will now have simple weather app in it. So I go here and I see simple weather app here. If I look in there, there's nothing in it, right? So, well, let me actually not stay in there. Then, yeah. So now if I do npm db reset, I forgot run. Drops it, creates it again, and then runs load schema. Let's see if this, let me see my schema. I forgot this here, which is why we got an error. In SQL, these are important. Let's try one more. Probably still gonna get some error. One session using database. Oh, there it was. Let's get out of here. Let's try it again. So we're still getting, there's one other session using database. Okay, one more time. So now, members does not exist, skipping, drop table, syntax error near password. Well, that's easy one. There we go, comma, one more. This time we drop table and create a table. We go back inside of Postigo. Connect. We go into simple weather app. We have members, nothing in it, no members yet. But as you guys can see, we now have a database created. So now what would we have to do? We would, first off, so we have an index views. What if we created a login? So new file, we'll call it login.ejs. Okay, so now we have a login. We want a login form. At the top we could do login under it. And we have a simple form that has input type text and then input type equals so we have name equals name and then name equals, what are the different things we, it was username and password, right? So this can be username, this can be password, type password. Let's make sure to close this, close our form. So now we have a login view. In our server.js, we need to create a route for when people go to /login. When they go to login, we want to render the login page. So now we do an npm start and we go to localhost /login. We have login right here. We want to do form name password. So now we have name, password. Let's see how this looks here. So now we have name and password. We need a submit button. Input type equals submit. Okay. Our form can get ID equals login form. Okay. So we want to essentially grab whatever the username and password is and submit it into our database. Let's say we only wanted people to be able to view the home page if they logged in. Okay, so yeah, that will probably take too much time, so I will not go through implementing that. Hey, hope you have a good time. Let me lurk here for some time. Oh, Susanna, sorry, just seen your message now. Yeah, you could go ahead and lurk. Let's see where I was at. So right now, we have localhost. We can go to 3000. We can enter, our zip code. We could submit. We get our town temperature there. Of course, this works only in the US for right now because we are throwing in after zip code. We're throwing in that US. So right now we're doing this login thing that's going to take this stuff and add it into a database. So next thing we would want to do is do something with this form here. Let me see if I can remember what I would do. So in connections, I want to start, I think I'm going to start writing like functions here. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead inside of DB and create a file. And I'm going to just call this members.js. Okay, so inside of members, we'll be able to access our database and query stuff. First, we need to just add some dummy data into, I guess I could just do like a seed. Nah, I don't want to do a seed. I guess PSQL. PSQL-D, and we called it simple weather app. This will let us go up in there, and let's just insert into members. We want to insert into members the username and password, I guess. So username, password, and we're going to give it values. Jose Moreno. Jose Moreno and Moreno is the password. Let's see if that worked. So it inserted. Let's go ahead and just change this. Javi Moreno, password Moreno, 1993. So now we should be able to select all from members. So now we have those two dummy data that we entered in. Okay, so now we can create functions inside of this members.js that will borrow the connection string and add stuff to our database. First we want to require constdb, and we want to require from within this folder we're in, we want to borrow, well, we didn't call it db, we called it connection. Okay, so now that we're borrowing from connection, inside of members, we can, I don't know, create what if I just want to show all members from within the database? We could do a const of find all members. Now what if we want to create? I'm going to do a create function, and it's going to take username, password, that's it. We want to, once we're in there, all we really want to do is return db.query, and we're going to insert into members username, password, and we're doing values, and we'll do $1, $2, and we're gonna go ahead and pass in here members. Or actually, I mean member. Actually, we're just going to pass in username and password. Well, I guess it's an array. Username, password. So basically what's going to happen here is when we hit submit from our form, it's going to have a username and password. We're going to take that username and password, throw it into this function, which will create into our database a username and password with the values from that they entered in username and password. Okay, so we have this create function. We can save it here. Okay, so now what? Now inside of our server, so when people are here in login, once they're there and then they hit submit, we want a post to happen, a post to our database. So and to specify this, how do I do again? Let me try to remember. Okay. So when they hit post, when they hit submit, basically, so when they hit submit, let me remember. Okay, so right now we're inside the server. But first, inside of our login form, we need to be able to explain what's going to happen in the form. We want an action. If we don't specify the action, then it'll automatically do a GET request. I mean method, not action. But action will be /login. So when submit is hit, it will go to the login route method post. Okay, so this tells it to post request to the login route, which will come this way to our app.post login, where we can do res, throw something inside of here, such as, so once we're in here, we can, what is it? Oh, that's right. Inside of our post, we can grab the information that was in the body through, now there's destructuring right here, but this is new syntax. If it's unfamiliar, I'll explain right now. Username, password, and then we're gonna set that equal to request.body. So all this is doing is it's looking at the request body, finding anything that is request body dot username and request body dot password, and it's saving it into username and password. It's basically the same as doing const username equals request dot body dot username and const password equals request dot body dot password. But instead of doing it that way, we get this shorter, nice syntax, looks a little cleaner, and now we got access to username and password. So once we have username and password, then we can do stuff with it, such as save it into our database. So what can we do? Once we have it, we want to run our create function that will create. Okay, so in order to create that, we're going to need access to members to that function we wrote, which is in members.js, I believe. So in order to get access to it, here at the top, we're going to want to do const members equals, and here we're going to have to remember what file it would be in, since server, I'm trying to remember where server is, because right now we're inside of server. We want to get out of server. So where is it right now? Server. Okay. So right now where we're at would just be require. Make sure no one's messaged. Okay, we're still good. Okay. So right now we're going to want to require members. And that would be, I think, in the same folder I'm in, because server is, oh no, it's inside of views. So from here, from root, go into views. Oh wait, is it in views? No, it's in DB. So from where we're at, go into DB, and then members. Okay, let's just save this. See if this will work. So that means I should be able to. Okay, that means now down here I should be able to use that create function that we created by doing members dot create username password, because we want to pass that in, and then dot then, well, let's go to the next one, dot then, and then here we can just leave it empty parameters, and we want res dot redirect to the slash page. So let's see what this does. No, I'm not too sure. I'm trying to do this kind of on the fly. I've been here for a minute already. So let's try to start up the server. npm start. Let's go back to localhost /login. So login is not, it's not letting us go to login. Cannot find module DB members. So let's see, why not? Oh, we gotta go into models DB. So I would say models/DB. Come back down here. Let's try this again. Now we're getting our login. Let me do Jose Moreno. Let me change this. Joe Schmo. Joey. Submit. Okay, so we should have went back to the home page, but it did not. It doesn't seem to have redirected us. We told it here, once we post to login. Well, first let's look at our database and see if anything changed there. Open. Simple weather app, members. So we don't seem to have written to it. Let's see if there's any errors that were. No, there was no errors. Submit. When I submit, so here I'm doing members.create, username and password, and I'm sending it into oh, I forgot to do another dot then, I think. Members.create, username, password. Maybe I didn't save. So let's go back into localhost login. Rabbit Bob. So I did submit it, but it for some reason goes right back to the same rec-res. So now we're getting So what did I do wrong here? We have our request body, password and username. Let me console log, because this should be using create here, which does this, and it inserts into there. I wonder if it's ever coming in here on username. Let me see. I think it's because here I'm not exporting this. No, that might have nothing to do with it. Oh, nope, yep, I need to do that. And I'll just call it create. Okay. Now let's see. Bob, Tom. And we're still, this should be getting username and password. So login form. I forgot. I know what. Let's go back. I'm gonna go back to my login. Username, password. Use a button. Log in. Oops. Even though I'm pretty sure I used a, here's my index page. Pretty sure, yeah, input was a submit here too. Submit form. So I'm trying to figure out why this is not creating a username and password. Okay. What can ever be going on here? Let's exit the ones we're not using. Type submit, login. So we're getting this. So for some reason this post, we got post there, / login, method post, input name, let me see, console log, username, so if we come back here, we redo the same thing, just like that. So I do log in and render this login page, but whenever I hit login, here, it refreshes. I don't remember if I need an event prevent default, but I don't think I do. Just want to know why I'm being redirected. I'm not being redirected when I should be. Because members.create should run. Maybe I don't need a dot then? No. Maybe it's just res.redirect. Maybe it's because I was expecting a promise, because I usually encrypt. That's not where I want to go. I want to go to login, Jeff, and job. And it's still redirecting or refreshing the page. It's not even showing here. Oh my goodness, I know what it is. We have not installed body parser. Body parser is what allows us to parse data coming in the posts. npm install body parser -- save. I would have been here all night and day hitting my head trying to figure that out. Another common mistake. Okay guys, we're almost done with this. This is like a 2-hour video or something. You see how long it's been? Oh, just about 2 hours. Let me see, what else can I do? Oh, server. We want to const body parser equals require body parser, I think. Okay, then we want to, I think it's like URL encoded or some sort. Where did I do it? I don't know where to put it, but we'll just do it under it. So app use, and usually it's body parser dot URL encoded. Extended is false, I believe. You guys can look up. There's just like something you'll always go through setting up. Looking into it too much isn't too important. Just know that the body parser allows you to parse data coming in inside of the post request. So let's try npm start again. Oh my goodness, I hope that solves some of this ruckus we're going through. Let's do something like storm and sunny. Okay, I'm still just going to the same place. What is going on here? I'm in login, I render login. Post, I'm not getting into this post. And why am I not getting into post? Once I'm inside of login, I have login, I have form action, login, method, post. I don't think this login form should matter. So we're inside of here. It's still refreshing the darn page. Members.create username and password. Then, I'm not sure if you can use it like that. Then want to just respond res.redirect, and we want to redirect to login. Save, restarting, local login, rotting. One item hidden by filter. Oh no. Let's see, where are we? Anybody have any idea what is going on here? So if I did something like, it's like I'm not going to where I need to go to. So I do username, password. It's like it's never coming inside of here at all, which tells me that my form is off. This login form somehow is not I'm thinking. So we have a form, it has an action, and a method. We have a form, it has an action. Oh my goodness. Boom. Oh my goodness. Is that what we've been waiting for? An equal sign. And let's try this for the 5 millionth time. We want login. We want something like Rob and Snob login. Finally, request is not defined. Whew, easy enough. We want to go into, where are we defining? Where did we put requests? No, request body, rec body. Okay guys, now we're getting to probably the end of this video, but hopefully you guys got a lot from these 2 hours. So now we're listening. Now I should be able to go here into login. Now I should be able to create, should say a sign up, not login, avoid confusion. So we'll do sign up. We'll switch login to say sign up. What else do we need to change? We could just search everywhere, find all, replace with sign up, replace all. Let's see if that fixed it. I don't think so, but okay, now we can't get login. That's good. Now we get sign up. rabbit and dog login. Cannot post login, and that's because we're telling it to once it posts, we want it actually to go back there, but where do we have login still? We could just search in directory and look for login. It's going to show us there's one more place that has it, and we want the form to go to the sign up route, the post sign up route. So now we go back to sign up. Crazy frog login, and we get redirected back into weather. That's our home page. As you guys can see, we're now on the home page. And if we go to Postico, it keeps making more of them, which I don't want. But anyways, if we go to Postico and we go to Simple Weather App, Members, we now have Crazy Frog in here. Okay, so now we're able to, from our app, go into sign up. We could cause inside of our app, if they're not logged in, to keep redirecting to a sign up page. And that would, like in here, we would do like an if not signed or not member, and then, you know, specify condition, redirect, res redirect to sign up page. But that's just getting into cookies and sessions and all this other stuff that I'm not trying to do, since I think this in itself was hefty. Let me just go over everything. That way everything, let's see if everything could kind of click. Exit this, clear this. So big takeaways from all this. First, we did our npm init, which will initialize a package JSON, which has our dependencies and all that good stuff of what we used, such as body parser, EJS, express, PG promise. The first thing I did was express. I set up our server, which, you know, we just did our require express and initialize express. I don't know if that's the right word, whatever. Now that we have access to this, we're able to like have it listen on a port, which is how we're able to use that localhost 3000. Once the server was on, we got that listening on port 3000 message. Then we created our home route, which when they went to the home route, we tell them to render our index page, which is here in the views. Once we render this index page, we're able to, through our public API calls JavaScript, listen to, let's go back to here. Oh, we turned off the server. We do an npm start. We go back to that home page. Now that it's able to see, we can go back to our home page. From the home page, we get that EJS template, which is here. We get to grab city name and temperature, which are both empty p tags. And through our API call, we make a GET request to openweathermap.org. We throw in some input that we get from our form, our text zip input, and our we just get the zip input. We make our API call. It returns an object with a bunch of information. With that information, we get that information, and we get data name and data temperature. From that object we get back, and then we enter it into our city name ID, which is that paragraph, and our temperature ID, which is also a paragraph. And we're changing the HTML of those empty paragraphs to contain data.name, which will have the name of the town and the temperature of that town. And that is when we go here, we have this enter zip code. I can enter, I'll do Merced zip code, which is 95340. We could submit it. It gives us that town and that temperature. And that was just our weather API. We also integrated a database into this app inside of, if you look at the views, we have what's called a sign up page. And if we go back to our server, we do have this sign up page here. And once we go there, we render sign up. Once we render sign up, we have this form. This form, once it's submitted, it makes this post request to the sign up route, which, as we can see here, the post route, what it does first off is it looks at the body of that request, and it's going to grab information from it. So that post request is going to have a username and password that was in the input username and the input name password. So the rec body has rec body username and rec body password, and it's going to contain those values of username and password. So we take those, that's why I console logged them here, we don't need this no more. We take those and we pass them into our create function, which we created, which we have over, not there. We did it inside of models, DB, members. So we have this members.js. It has, first it borrows from that connection string that we created, which is over here. It's just, again, an abstraction. I could very well have put that all at the top here and it would work. But we have that. We require our connection, and then we can write a bunch of functions and use that connection, and that connection has this query method, which we use to insert into our members' username and password the values that were passed in from server. And again, these were passed in because from the form, when it was submitted, we saved it from the body, and we got access to them through the request body username, request body password, and we passed them in here, which passed them along again here. So this value 1 and 2 would be username and password, and it saves that into our database, which once it's done, it just redirects back to the home page. And that's basically everything. That is all that happened in the 2 hours, the 2 long hours that we were here. And I hope this was something you guys can take away. I know it was a long talk, but if you guys have any questions, you guys could go ahead and comment down below in the comment section. Make sure to subscribe for more videos like this. I would like to help any of you guys. If you guys have any questions regarding any of the material I've presented, I'm still new to a lot of this, and that's why it probably took me so long when anybody else would have been able to do this like in 30 minutes. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time. Yes, I don't know what else to say. but have a good one. Peace out and keep calm and keep coding.